And Jade was 10 months old when she began with us, and she was unable to sit independently. That means that when we put her in a sitting position, she would just sort of slump and fall over. She could not keep herself balanced. She didn't have the muscle and motor control to be able to do that. No one had done anything with babies this young. We thought, well, you know, a robot might provide us with a lot of options. Sharing sent around an email asking if anyone was interested in applying computer stuff to health sciences.
We are looking at providing mobility to infants with motor impairment because it is so important for their development.
So our work with babies without disabilities has been to determine, A, can they drive this robot? Can they figure out how to do it? And how young can they be and still be able to drive the robot? We only required that they not be able to creep or crawl on their hands and knees or their bellies when we began the project. We started with babies who are anywhere between the ages of 5 and 9 months of age at different points in our research. And we wanted them to have no developmental delays, so we used a questionnaire that parents filled out. We figured that if a typically developing baby couldn't do this at 5 months or 6 months or 7 months, then there's no way we could expect a baby with disabilities to be able to do it at the same time. For babies with disabilities, the requirement was we also wanted them not to be able to move independently, meaning they can't access their environment independently. So we wanted to see if we could provide mobility to younger children who have motoric limitations. We do something that we call free play, which is when the babies they're placed in the robot and they're allowed to kind of go where they want in this room. And we observe how much of their movement we think is goal directed. And we have 2 free play sessions that are each 3 minutes, and between the 2 we have a 10-minute training period that we call driver training, and that is where babies are given 9 trials to get to objects, and the objects are placed 6 inches, 12 inches, and 3 feet away from the babies, right in front of them, to the left of them, and to the right of them. So we look at how many of those 9 trials are they successful in getting to the toy. We wanted to compare how quickly babies could learn and what they did when they were able to explore on their own with those 2 different kinds of controls.
Hi! Hi!
I was interested in providing mobility to infants with disabilities who are unable to use a powered wheelchair.
These are usually used by adults, and they are generally used with a joystick.
The joystick is adapted so that it's easy for babies to use, I think, easier than the traditional joysticks are that are on a wheelchair.
It has sensors on it, so the baby cannot run into a wall because it has sonar, and the sonar says there's something in your way, and we just have the robot stop. So the baby can't move forward if it's going to run into a wall.
When we set up the joystick and put it together with the software that controlled the robot moving, there were lots of little things that had to be worked out, because initially if you just moved it a bit, the whole robot, it just turned really quickly, which for babies they'd be like, oh, you know, we would cause a startle reaction and lose them, so we couldn't have that. And so we had to control the speed and the speed of turning and all that kind of stuff and play with the thing.
Wouldn't it be nice if we could have them move and the robot would move? But with my training, I'm thinking, well, we could do that with strain gauges, but then we'd have to build the devices, and we'd have to build the interfaces, and we'd have to look at the data to make sure that we were, we had things all built correctly. And one of the students that we were working with said, the Wii board does all of that. And it was kind of like a light bulb went off, right? Really? If we had done it my way, we'd still be working on the device.
Good stuff. She is with Jaylee, and then Jaylee leans, and when Helen judges she's lost balance, she'll say, yeah.
Using the Weebot, whenever she wanted to go somewhere, she had to move her trunk, with control, which is what she was having, one of the things she was having difficulty with. It made sitting so hard for her. So we think that just by making the robot go, by leaning her body, by trying to move the robot to where she wanted to go, she was inadvertently kind of giving herself physical therapy. Over the course of those, so between the first visit and the last visit, we saw some real marked differences in her abilities, and we certainly saw them as we went along. But we measured them more specifically using a measure called the Bailey 3, which is a developmental tool. She made gains in all areas, in every area, which included fine motor, language, cognition. She made gains greater than the amount of time that had passed in every area except for gross motor. She went from falling when we placed her in sitting to sitting independently. And in sitting, she could rotate, which requires a lot of muscle control around the core of your body. Her mom was just tickle pink when she actually, in the middle of a session, she looked at something and she pointed to direct our attention to something. And that's communication. But she had never done it before anywhere. And her mother was like, holy cow, where did that come from? I'm so excited to see it. She said, when I started working with you, I didn't really think my daughter could do much of anything, because there was so little that she was able to do independently. And by the end, she made so many gains. She said, I really knew that she has the potential to do a lot. So it changed her mother's appraisal of her, which I think is probably a good thing too. We want to see, with babies who do not have independent mobility, who aren't yet able to creep, will, say 12 visits, 12 experiences of the robot, make a difference in their development that we don't see in babies who don't have the experience. Particularly, we want to look at typically developing babies to see if we provide earlier mobility, will they learn other things more quickly? And of course, we really want to look at babies with disability. Does it make a difference for them? Provide earlier mobility, will they learn other things more quickly? And of course, we really want to look at babies with disability. Does it make a difference for them?